So today we will be going over the history of the universe and everything that ever has and will exist. So, what happened in the beginning of the universe?
The Big Bang.
That, yes, it is the reckoning, the genesis of reality itself. Genesis means beginning, just so everyone knows. What was there before the Big Bang, before everything? The singularity. I want to make this very clear. It's the singularity, not a singularity that's in a black hole. This was the singularity. The difference basically is that this singularity contained the mass of everything that ever has, will, and exists really. This singularity contained the mass of everything, just everything. Black hole singularities contain the mass of a black hole. So yeah, the singularity was unbelievably heavy. I just named it the singularity just to give a little clarification because this isn't the proper astronomical terms. This is just my way of differentiating between this and a black hole singularity. Um, so yeah, surrounding the singularity was nothingness, just absolutely nothing, just emptiness. Now, I said here something caused the singularity to explode violently, which is the Big Bang. That something is quantum physics. And the universe as we know it was created. It literally created space and time. So the Big Bang is the beginning of history. So about the actual, like how things began to form. So in the initial seconds after the explosion, so very, very soon after the Big Bang, atoms began to form, but the temperature was still too high for molecules to form. So it cooled down a little, then molecules formed. So really the early history of the universe is it expanding and the universe temperature lowering just so that things can exist. But that's really it. That's really all you need to know about the Big Bang. I mean, does anyone have any questions before we move on? Anyway, see look, the what I mean by predictions, this is just guesses based on what we know about the universe. These are predictions based on what we think the universe will die. Now there are two based on something known as dark energy.
What's
And
dark
no, this is
energy?
not some anime sounding things. So nobody question me about anime because honestly, we're not even sure what it is. Basically, the theory is that the universe was expanding way too fast for any logic to for any like logic really. It was expanding too fast for logical reasons. And another thing was that given the mass of the universe, gravity should have been fighting this expansion and pulling the universe back in, crushing everything. But this wasn't the case. There was something clearly making the universe bigger, and gravity wasn't able to counteract this. And it clearly wasn't anything like star pressure or anything. That the universe is just too empty for that. So something that we couldn't detect was fighting gravity, making the universe grow bigger, creating all these empty spaces in between everything. Now we nicknamed this dark energy just because we didn't know what else to call it, because it was some form of energy that we couldn't see it. Dark. So yeah, here are the three potential methods of us killing the universe. So the three methods are heat death, big rip, and big crunch. See, look, what it is just basically where all the stars die. So all that will be left just after the stars die are white dwarfs and black holes. You guys remember what white dwarfs are, right? But does everyone remember what white dwarfs are?
Yes.
Okay, great. So white dwarfs are the remnants of low to medium mass stars when they die. So yeah, one important thing to note is, I mean, if you are more confused, just go check the previous classes where I covered the types of stars. There will be an explanation as to what white dwarfs are there. But yeah, one important thing to note is that white dwarfs don't actually generate their own heat. Their gravity isn't great enough to create fusion. So typo, sorry about this. But basically, what I'm trying to say here is that they eventually begin to cool over trillions of years. Like their temperature just begins to lower over an infinitely long time until they just become black dwarfs. To put it simply, they're just white dwarfs that generate no heat, don't glow at all, and they're just dead. For all intents and purposes, dead. So, and in this universe, no heat can be generated because there's no fuel to generate that heat. The universe is dead forever. So it's called the heat death because it's literally the death of heat, or as some people call it, the big freeze. It's one of the two.
I I actually I didn't understand the heat that properly.
Basically, all the stars die, and then all the white dwarfs and black hole, and all that's left are white dwarfs and black holes. White dwarfs then become black dwarfs after they cool down. So basically, there's no more heat being generated in this universe. Nothing can generate heat. So it's dead forever for all purposes. There is
Yeah,
nothing
okay.
to generate heat. So
Without
yeah,
heat, the universe can't survive.
without heat, for all intents and purposes, this universe is now dead. Not because it's not like it's a living thing, but it's just that there's nothing there to like keep it alive, to make it feel like something lives in it. I mean, sure, you could probably live in this type of universe for a little longer, but at the end of the day, one thing that all life forms need to survive is heat. That's why we orbit a star. So without heat, pretty soon we will all die.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
So yeah, this is literally the death of heat. And then the second is called the Big Rip. This is a concept where there is more dark energy than we think. So gravity can't actually account for all this dark energy. What this means is that the universe will stretch so big that it gets to a point that the size of the universe alone begins to rip galaxies apart. So galaxies dissolve into stars and solar systems. That's just how big the universe will get. The concept goes that if there's too much dark energy, then it won't affect the universe only. It will begin affecting everything, humans, planets, stars, galaxies, etc. The concept goes that once the universe gets to a certain size limit, the galaxies will be ripped apart just because that's how big the universe is. Then solar systems will get ripped apart. So stars and planets will be pulled away from each other. Then stars will be ripped atom by atom and just become a soup of atoms. And then planets and everything on those are ripped into atoms. So what would happen if this is the case is that we'd just be dissolved into atoms. I think if anyone's seen Avengers Infinity War, it's basically like that. Everyone just dissolves. Um, on a much more grander scale when nothing is left. So yeah, then the universe reaches a state of maximum entropy. That's just scientific way of saying everything is the same. So
Like how it was when there was a singularity. I
no,
mean, the singularity.
no, actually that's completely different. It's not, see, look, the difference is with the singularity, there was something. The singularity, right? There was something. In the Big Rip case, there's nothing in the universe apart from atoms. It's still humongous, but all that's left are just individual atoms moving around in space, never hitting each other, because that's how empty space is at this point. So basically, what happens is that the universe, what entropy means is that everything is the same. Like, how to put this? Okay, if you take a cup of coffee and you just put it down, after a point, the milk, like the coffee, will get distributed evenly across the milk. And that's called entropy, really, because everything in that cup of coffee is the same. Like coffee is the same everywhere. Does that make sense? So yeah, basically think of that happening to the universe on just a huge scale. Everything gets dissolved and everything becomes the same, but it's dead because there's no life. Does that make sense? Great. Yeah, and then there's the big crunch. This is again based on dark energy, but it's the opposite. Basically, if there's less than we thought, or it gets weaker over time, or it can be used up, or something like that, then the universe will eventually stop growing in size. There will come a point where the universe just stops expanding, and then it slowly begins to contract because that's how powerful gravity is. It will slowly begin to fall inwards, and at the same time, the temperature of the universe will slowly begin to increase, and it will get to a point where the temperature is so high that stars and planets will be burnt up from the outside. So if this was the case, what would happen to us is that we just get someone has a question.
Yeah, I didn't get the first part when it kept expanding and then stopped. Like till that I didn't get till it stopped I didn't get what you meant.
Okay, so what do I mean by that? Basically, um, how to put this? Basically, if there isn't as much dark energy as we think, then the universe will stop growing in size after a certain point in time, right? And if that's the case, then dark energy will no longer be able to fight gravity. So gravity will take over and everything will begin to fall inwards. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
What you
makes sense.
you meant like when they begin to fall inwards, heating heating everything up. So how is it like compared to heat death?
Heat death, the temperature of everything becomes so low that, well, everything's dead because there's no heat in the universe. This is completely different. Let me just finish this. To understand the difference pretty quickly.
Okay.
See, look, in heat death, the universe can just expand or whatever. Nobody cares about that. Here, what's happening is that the universe, after it begins to contract, everything will begin to heat up. Okay, and at that point, the stars and planets and everything of that, they'll get burnt up from the outside. That's how great the heat will become. And then after a point in time, all that will happen is that black holes, they'll be being pushed closer to each other, so they'll swallow up everything around them, and then they will all combine to form a black hole so big that everything in the universe is consumed, including itself. And that's it, the end. That's the big crunch. Anyone has a question?
Yeah, I couldn't hear you for the last little bit because I think my connections
No,
just
it's my
went a little
connection,
bit
sorry.
switch bit.
It's my connection issues.
Yeah,
Sorry
like
about
at
that.
the end, like a little bit, like the black hole part about like all the everything forming into a black hole. I didn't get how that happened, and after that,
So basically, the point is that there's so much heat that everything else gets cooked from the outside inwards. Okay. So the only things that can't be cooked because they don't have a surface to cook is black holes. So black holes will then consume all this whatever will be left. Okay. And then once they consume all that, then hang on, I'm just so yeah, once they consume everything, then they will all combine to form a big black hole that consumes whatever will remain, including itself. So the black hole consumes itself. Do not ask me how that happens before anyone thinks about it. Do not ask me
yeah,
how that
I was
happens.
gonna ask you how that's gonna happen.
Yeah, I know people are going to ask me because the reason why I say that is because I have no idea how, and everything I could find does not give me an answer.
Maybe
I
it's
mean,
like
I can give you an idea if it will help you
yeah,
think of it a little easy. Put it this way: black holes are like super hungry carnivores that are also happen to be cannibals. Okay, if there's nothing left for them to eat, then they'll also eat themselves. Disturbing
yeah.
thought,
So
but
it's more like us eating ourselves. But like how can our mouth eat our nose, our eyes, our head? Okay, maybe our head, but like how does it eat this part of our face? Maybe with our
do
hands,
black
but
holes have faces? No. Don't think too hard about this. Just accept. Do not think too hard about this, please. It's confusing enough as it is. But yeah. Now, I know I'm confusing you by saying, or is it the end here? There's a very good reason for that. Now, before I go on to my next slide, does anyone notice anything interesting here? just think for a minute, forms a humongous black hole that's so big it devours the universe, including itself. What is left?
The singularity. So it's gonna restart.
That's the point. But the thing is, this theory is called the Big Bounce, but there is no way anyone can prove it, just none. Here's the way the concept works. It basically states that the universe is in a constant cycle of Big Bang and Big Crunch. So it's what it's saying is that the universe has its own life cycle, like any human or something like that. Okay, the universe has its own life cycle. Begins with a Big Bang, okay? And after a while, they will stop expanding and it will begin to collapse. One, and then there's a big crunch, and then after a while, there'll be another Big Bang. And then the cycle just repeats infinitely. That's the Big Bounce theory. But there is no way you can possibly prove this. Just no way. Because here's why. Just hold off on your question for a minute. See, there's the reason why you can't prove this is that during the big crunch, everything will be annihilated. That's the theory. Everything is consumed by this black hole and transformed into the singularity. So, and in the singularity, nothing can exist apart from just unbelievably compressed matter to the point where we can't really call it matter. So you can't. So there's nothing left. So none of the evidence of this theory remains to prove that it is true. So after the old universe dies, the new universe would form, and its residents would not know that there would be a one before them. So if this is true, there could have been millions of universes before ours, and we'd never know it just because there's no evidence. Go on, what's your question?
So, like, how do we know that our universe, like, imagine if
We
it
don't.
is the first universe, how do we know that it won't end in a big rip
We don't know what's going to
or
happen.
the
These are all
heat,
predictions.
this thing, heat that.
There's no way to know any of this. These are all predictions. All three of these, everything I just mentioned, they're all predictions. They're all guesses based on what we know. Go on.
Or maybe the universe won't even die. Who knows? Maybe the universe can't die. Is it
Well,
possible?
to that, I respond. I'm pretty sure most of you have seen Infinity War, so I'll give you a quote from Thanos. All things run from it, hide from it, destiny arrives all the same. In other words, you can try and hide from death, but it will be there. The end. Death is inevitable. Let's leave it at that. So the universe will die, just we don't know how it will die. Let me make that very clear. There is no way of knowing ahead of time how the universe will die, because these three guesses are based on science, and science does not allow us to travel into the future.
So maybe, but like, how do we know it won't? It will die in only one of these. Maybe it can die in an explosion or something like that.
Well, let's see. In order for it to die in an explosion, you would need an explosion big enough to encompass the universe. Tell me, apart from the Big Bang, is there anything you can think of that is big enough to engulf the entire universe in an explosion? In what we know about astronomy, there is literally nothing stronger than the Big Bang as an explosion. Sure, we have supernovas, hypernovas, and all those sort of events, but they pale in comparison to the Big Bang. They're nothing. Because the Big Bang created reality itself, which, to not go too far into general relativity, but what that basically means is that the Big Bang created time. It's just that simple.
Okay.
Now, there's actually something I'd like to just say before I end the class. So this Big Bounce theory, let me just go back to that. So yeah, this theory here, so do you know there's actually something very similar to this in Hindu mythology? Now we have our own mythology. You guys can go read that if you want. But see, look, everyone knows who Brahma is, right?
Yeah, the creator of the earth.
Good. But the thing is, there's this theory. I don't know much about it. I asked my mother, but she was pretty vague on the details. She said it was too hard for her to explain everything. But basically, the theory is that one day in Brahma's life is a day is the life of the universe itself. The Hindu scriptures actually state that that there have been multiple universes before ours, and the theory is very, very similar to the Big Bounce.
Yeah, it is.
It's only the only difference is that it's very is that it's given an analogy similar to a day. So you have dawn, the birth of the universe, zenith, like the largest point of the universe, and then dusk, the death of the universe. So you have that's what the scriptures say, but it's very, very remarkably similar to astronomy. I just thought I'd point that out. Now donations close, I believe, on the 14th of July. I'm not sure, but I think they close around then. So please, please donate before then. But yeah, next week will be a quiz on everything we've covered in astronomy. Just everything.
Everything. Are we gonna like preview it before the quiz? Like, are you gonna go through the slides, or like, is it just a quiz?
Okay, I will give you 5 minutes to ask me any questions you want before the quiz. That will be recorded. So anyone on YouTube, if you guys are somehow watching this, yay, thank you for watching. But yeah, so I'll just go over some random slides just for anyone who has questions. Okay, and the week after that will be the final class of astronomy. So if you can, please, please attend it. And if you're on YouTube, you're in for a surprise. I'll just leave it at that. But apart from that, I think class can be dismissed right